it's Bailey and welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a What's New at the Drugstore haul where I talk about all the shiny new things hitting drugstore shelves, and unlike what is sort of a typical haul, I prefer to go through them and actually give you my thoughts, show you some swatches, really tell you whether you should pick them up or leave them on the shelf. So because we have a lot of ground to cover in this video, lots of products to talk about, let's get right into it. First, I want to start with lip products. There are tons of new matte lip products hitting the shelves, really lots of extreme textures in general. You're going to see a lot of matte in this video as well as a lot of sparkle as I get to some of the other products that I'm about to talk about. But first, the mattes lip products. The first product is from Rimmel, and this is actually a line I was really excited to try because I love the initial line so much. It is the Show Off Lip Velvets, and 2 to 3 years ago they released the lip lacquer version or finish of this lip product, and these are amazing. They are super opaque, high shine lip colors. You can see I love them. I obviously went hog wild on the display that I found, so really love them. I can even link to that review down below if you're unfamiliar, though I think these were a huge splash, so I'm sure a lot of you are familiar naturally, which is why I was so excited to pick up the matte version of these. The two shades that I have are Meteoric Matte. It's the shade that I'm wearing right now. It's this deep burgundy berry, and the other I wanted to go total opposite, nice bright vibrant orange for spring. This is the shade Orangeology, and these have a texture that's nearly identical to the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream. I mean, couldn't tell a difference on the lips, and fortunately I didn't find that these dried my lips out. These don't either, which is kind of one challenge that you'll find with a lot of matte products, whether they're high-end or drugstore. Those products tend to dry out my lips at least, so I'm happy to say that these provide super pigmented wear without drying out your lips. As far as staining goes, they aren't extremely staining on the lips. They definitely leave a lasting pigment, but it's not full-on pigment for, you know, hours and hours on end. The finish is the first to wear off, and then I would say 4 to 5 hours after that, these are completely gone. I would say the texture is the biggest selling point on these because they do feel so comfortable and kind of feather light on the lips. That'll contrast to a different matte lip product I'm gonna talk about right after this. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, is as it's kind of the main differentiating factor of these, is that they are just so light. They're really not dehydrating, and they have decent lasting power. The next matte lip product I want to talk about is actually a really affordable one from the brand Jordana. This is their brand new modern matte lipsticks. I have 3 shades to share here with you. One is this really pretty dusty coral, I would call it. It's called Matte Pretty. The other is this really bright red called Matte Caliente. And then another, I've really been feeling the deep purpley plums, is Matte Dare. This, it actually looks very similar. It feels totally different on the lips, but looks very similar to the Rimmel that I'm wearing right now. And I also wore this in the Real Techniques Bold Metals collection video. So for everyone who is asking, I'm gonna have a tutorial of that look coming up. And that look actually uses it's gonna be a What's New at the Drugstore tutorial. So you're gonna see a lot of these products put to use in that tutorial, but I really wanted to mention it because it is what I was wearing in that video, and in particular this shade looks so similar to the Rimmel. The difference I would say in these matte lipsticks versus those kind of matte lip mousses is obviously the texture, but these tend to be a little bit more drying and way longer lasting. These truly stain the lips. They are very difficult to get off. If you kind of want to force them off, you really have to let them wear down throughout the day because they definitely stain the lips. They go on very comfortably. The formula isn't dry at all at first when you put them on your lips. There's no tugging or anything like that, but I definitely noticed it getting or emphasizing any sort of lip imperfections, dryness, flakiness, anything like that I already had existing on my lips. These emphasized it way more than the Rimmel matte. This is a matte one, than the matte Rimmel lip products. The upside I would say to these is the price, because these are really reasonably priced. They are Jordana, but also the lasting power. Like I said, they just go on and on and on. I would say like 6 hours, seriously, through eating and drinking. These are phenomenal. Also from Jordana are some new liners. These are the Cat Eye Liners, and I have 2 shades, one gold in Future and one purple in Orchid. It was just a super fun, there are actually a ton of fun colors within this line. These are just the 2 I happened to pick up. I actually used Future in a tutorial a few videos back. It was called a Touch of Gold tutorial, I believe, and I used this not only on to illuminate the inner corner, it's beautiful at doing that, but also to create kind of an interesting sort of wing accent, I guess. Basically, these are some seriously smudge proof. They don't say waterproof anywhere on the packaging, so I don't want to mislead you. I don't know that they claim they're waterproof, but for me personally, These are budge proof. I put them, like I said, on the inner corner in that tutorial, and the reason I did so is because it stayed there, and that tends to be where I encounter the most wear and tear because I'm constantly itching my eyes when they're so dry. The inner corner tends to be the first place I go to, so any sort of highlight I have going on in there is the first to go when my makeup starts to break down during the day. So I was really impressed to see that that wasn't the case with this, and both of them performed exactly the same. Very, very pigmented. I didn't find I had to go over them multiple times to really build up that pigmentation, yet they aren't impossible to get off. More affordable liquid liners, I find, have perfected the art of lasting all day. They'll either peel off when you're ready to get them to come off, or they're just impossible to get off. They don't stain, but they just are kind of sticky and harder to peel off, which can be really tough on the upper lash line if you have sort of sensitive upper lashes like I do. That's not the case at all with these. They come off when they want, or when you want them to come off. So these are awesome if you're looking for some fun. I think they might have a normal black shade. I didn't really pay attention. They have some fun, funky shades if that's what you're interested in. It's just an overall great liquid liner. The other thing I wanted to mention about these is the super tapered brush. These are excellent for precision work. Again, a lot of times with more affordable eyeliners, they'll come with those harsh, scratchy felt tips. Once again, they irritate the upper lash line, and that did not happen at all with these. Plus, the tip is so fine that it really allows you more control if you are into, you know, really going at it and creating wings, flicks, swirls, whatever it is you want to do. This is the kind of tool you want to do it. Next up is kind of a one-off product from Covergirl. They actually have an entirely new display, but this is kind of the only new brow product I've seen floating around lately, and it's very different, very distinct. This is their new brow and liner powder, and mine is in the shade 810, or I'm sure dark brown. It doesn't actually have it. You can hear it kind of jingle in there. This looks like it would be a liquid liner, but it's not. It's actually a powder that comes on this sort of straight felt tip, and you can use it for brows as well as liner. I guess I haven't used it that way because it is kind of a loose powder, but it's a very different texture. So I have it on my brows today, and I think I've used it in a tutorial as well a while back. And the major thing I was hesitant about with this was the kind of fallout I was gonna get with a loose brow powder that I didn't actually have to put on a brush and apply directly. The texture with this is such though that it kind of sticks to your brows and your skin as well. I have fudged up with this and gotten it just below my brow or even just anywhere around my brows. It really sticks to the skin. So this is definitely great for those of you who are looking to build your brow from nothing. If you have like sparse brows, you're not just looking to deepen the hairs you have, but you actually want to fill in the skin around. This is surprisingly great. Typically I don't have great luck with powders. They just kind of smudge and smear off throughout the day. Not so with this powder. It's really great at doing both. The one downfall I would say though is I did experience a little bit of fallout, and because this isn't sort of a rigid brush, it's kind of hard to get a super defined brow. It's great for filling in, but as far as creating clear, crisp lines, if that's what you're all about, it's a little harder to do that, especially once you get into this outer tail. If you're all about that really sharp pointed outer corner, a little bit harder to do that with this, unless you want to go in with, you know, a nice concealer brush and just clean it up right there. Overall, I have to say that I had to get over some mixed feelings because the application technique was so unfamiliar to me. But once I got over that, I think this is really going to be a method that I go to when it comes to applying my brows. Maybe I'll get to liner eventually. It's definitely, the dark brown especially, is a really nice, deep, opaque brown, so I'm sure it would be fabulous as liner. But for now, I'm going to stick to using it to the brows, and I really enjoy it. Up next is an eyeshadow quad from Covergirl. They have, I think, not only repackaged but reformulated these as a means of comparison. Here is one of their old quads. It's not super old. I think they did redo their packaging relatively recently within the past few years, so this is somewhat updated and obviously a very bright quad, but drastically different from what the old formula and packaging was. What's interesting is my first thought when I saw these is I had to do a brand double take because these look strikingly similar to the Maybelline Eye Studio. In fact, identical in size and shape and kind of configuration to the Maybelline Eye Studio quads, which was interesting. And I have to say the formula is very similar as well. These are very smooth, soft, and relatively pigmented shadows. I think you'll find in the swatches. Those were swatched with a sponge. Normally I do it with my fingers, so those are going to be exceptionally pigmented. But I was wearing this in a recent video as well, have a tutorial coming up soon. Surprised at how nicely pigmented these are. This particular quad is in the shade Blooming Blushes. It's really nice lavenders and purples in here. A mix of textures too. There's some satin, there's a really pretty shimmery duochrome shade in here, and then this gorgeous satin matte brown shade. I was most excited, as well as, it's kind of a boring shade, but as weird as it is, I was kind of most excited about that because every time I get one of these, it seems like every time I get one of these quads, I will think all these shadows are gonna go great together, perform beautifully, and then there's always one dud, and more often than not, it is always that staple matte shade. I have to go into a different palette and reach for what should be a very basic, essential shadow that every palette should have. I'm really happy to say that's not the case with this. This is a beautiful kind of satin but nearly matte brown shadow that's great for the crease, obviously. It's great for just doing a wash over the lids. Overall, it contributes greatly to this palette, and I really, really like it. But I'm happy to say this whole palette is a real win for me. So well done to Covergirl for the new shadows and formulation. I will probably pick up a few more because I was so impressed with this one. And last from Covergirl, and yet another product you'll see put to use soon, is a new liner. It's called an Ink It liner, and this is in the shade 270 or Copper Ink. The name itself is really what attracted me to this pencil. It's kind of in your normal automatic pencil format, but Ink It made it sound like it was going to be this ultra pigmented, maybe gel hybrid formula type thing. So you open it up and you can see here that it looks like a normal automatic pencil, but when you push it up, I'm not going to do it because there is no way to get it back down. So you push it up, it is a very soft formula. I find I go through this really quickly when I want to really smudge it out and layer it on. The pigmentation builds beautifully. Like I said, it's very soft, so there is no tugging, which I personally find to be an issue with automatic liners. I'm happy to say that's not the case. Also, as a result of it being so soft, it works wonderfully on the waterline. Yet another issue I have with automatic liners is that they just don't show up on the waterline. It needs kind of that drier skin to really pull the product off of the pencil. So that wasn't the case at all with this. It's very soft. The one thing that was a problem though is in the event you crank it up, like I just did, you can't crank it back down. So I'm a little worried that product will eventually get pushed up into the tip and smushed in there and it's just wasting product, but not sure why they did that, if it's a result of the formula, but the formula itself is great. So I do recommend you check these out if you're interested in a new sort of automatic type pencil and you have the same issues I do with traditional automatic eyeliners. And moving on to the last brand, last products, I feel like I've been talking a mile a minute for forever. These are from Physicians Formula. This is the shimmer I talked about at the beginning of the video. It's part of the Shimmer Strips line. One is an eyeshadow palette. They've had Shimmer Strips eyeshadow palettes for forever, but this one is like really shimmery. I mean, it's ultra glitzy. I had to pick these up because foiled or metallic shadows are becoming such a huge thing. And so obviously Physicians Formula has gotten in on that trend. I really wanted to see how they pulled it off. Excited to say they did it really, really well. I was a little worried that these would be shadows with an overspray and then you'd swirl your finger in there, give it a good swatch. The swatch would be beautiful, and then you'd look at the pan and then there's just this blah base color sitting in there. Not at all. I have gone into these shadows quite a bit. I'm actually wearing them on my lid today, layered over the product I'm going to talk about next. But really happy to say that these are nicely pigmented, provide relatively minimal fallout given the fact that they are pretty, relatively densely packed glitters, essentially is what I would say. They're a little bit more finely milled than a glitter, but they're not by any means a shimmer. I mean, you put these on your lid and anyone who doesn't feel like they can pull off or doesn't like to wear shimmery, glittery, glimmery type things will hate this. I personally love it, especially since there's not a matte or satin shadow in the mix. This is really all 100% glitter, but it's also what I'm wearing completely on my lid right now. So you can definitely pull it off. I think it's a great mix of shades they play really nicely here together. It is one of the few eyeshadow palettes that you can find from the drugstore that is through and through shimmer. It's not just a sparkly overlay that comes off after one or two uses. So I was really impressed to see that, and I think a lot of people who like shimmery shadows will as well. The next product, once again, shimmer lovers, avert your eyes because you're gonna hate this. Once again, as part of the Shimmer Strips category. This is a custom eye enhancing gel cream shadow and liner trio. It just says extreme shimmer. I'm not sure if there's like a non-extreme shimmer option, but it says extreme shimmer on here. And this is in the nude eyes option. Basically, you get 3 pots in here. One is a rose champagne shimmer, light golden champagne shimmer, and then sort of a medium taupe shimmer. And what I loved about these is they can be used as both cream eyeshadows as well as liners. I wouldn't personally use these as kind of a liner in the traditional sense, kind of like I have a cat eye or a opaque black liner now. It's not necessarily where I would put it. I think these work fantastically on the inner corner or on the lower lash line to really brighten and open your eyes up. They also work great as cream shadows, I'm really happy to say. I am wearing them right now. Like I said, I'm actually wearing the deep taupe shade right now. You'll see that in a tutorial coming up. But I've worn these alone, didn't prime with a separate primer or a different cream shadow, and they were beautifully unfaded, uncreased throughout the day. Layered shadow over them, and they held up just as well. They really kept the shadow in place, really intensified that shimmer. I'm really, really pleased to say that these performed as well as I hoped them to, yet they're not very expensive for not 1, but 3 drugstore cream eyeshadows that double as liners. One critique I would give them, however, is that I wish they would have differentiated the shades a little bit more. These 2 down here at the bottom you can see are awfully close. Yes, they are definitely different, but when it comes to actually shearing them out on the eyes, they would look practically the same. So I do wish they would have given maybe an even deeper shade or put a pop of color in here, although I suppose it wouldn't then be nude eyes, but you get what I'm saying. Just put a little bit more contrast in this trio. Beyond that though, if you're looking to add to your cream shadow collection from the drugstore, these are definitely a must-have, but obviously you have to love shimmer. That is kind of a given, I think. So that's it. I'm done talking. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoy getting a peek at all these products, hearing my thoughts on them, letting you know whether they are worthwhile, worth your time to look for, pick up, or that you should leave them. Like I said, don't forget to look out for the tutorials coming up soon where I actually put these products to use, and I will actually put the tutorial that I have been talking about throughout this video in the info bar below if you want to see the products that I have already used in use. Once again, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.